This is English shorthand dictation number 285 and the dictation speed is 160 words per minute. Ready? Start. In a significant order, the Supreme Court has maintained that education is not a business to earn profit. This order should set the ball rolling towards making education accessible to a large section of our able and aspiring youth who are at present unable to pursue certain courses of their choice because of the high fees. The Supreme Court made this observation while ruling that the tuition fee must always be affordable. Towards this end, it upheld the Andhra Pradesh High Court verdict quashing a state government decision of September 2017 to increase the tuition fee of medical colleges to Rs 24 lakh annually. This fee is 7 times of that fixed earlier in 2011. The Supreme Court has termed this hike as unjustifiable and violative of the rules prescribed for the fixation or review of fees. The issue of fees charged by private medical colleges and their regulation by the authorities concerned has been a contentious one, as many such institutes have mushroomed in the country over the past few decades. Some of them are even without proper clearances or infrastructure. These colleges were being run by managements as businesses with the motive of profiteering. This became clear when they resorted to the practice of paid seats and capitation fees, ignoring the merit of candidates. It naturally caused much unrest not only among the meritorious poorer aspirants but also the society, as people harbored doubts over the quality of doctors emerging from these institutes and the education imparted to them. The affected parties have regularly sought the intervention of the authorities concerned, including the central and state governments and courts, for relief. But a solution acceptable to all stakeholders has remained elusive. When Medical Council of India was abolished in September 2020 and replaced by a new regulatory authority called the National Medical Commission, it was touted as a historic reform for the medical education framework, as it promised to steer it towards a transparent, qualitative and accountable system. But the ground situation is still plagued by controversies right from the admission process to fee structure. The Supreme Court ruling provides a direction to the remedial steps needed. Amid the geopolitical tussle triggered by the Ukraine war, India and Russia have recorded significant growth in bilateral trade, underlining the strength and endurance of their time-tested ties. During his first visit to Moscow after Russia launched an invasion of Ukraine in late February, the External Affairs Minister of India made it clear that India would continue to import crude oil from Russia despite Western pressure. Russia became India's top oil supplier in October, overtaking traditional vendors Saudi Arabia and Iraq. The External Affairs Minister of India said at a joint media briefing with Russian Foreign Minister last week that it was New Delhi's fundamental obligation to ensure that Indian consumers had the best possible access to the most beneficial terms in international crude markets. India has rightly gone all out to safeguard its interests rather than toeing the line of Western powers during the ongoing energy crisis. It is not surprising that friendliness between India and Russia has not gone down well with the US. The US has said that it is committed to working with India on its transition away from Russia, adding that a number of countries have learned the hard way that Moscow is not a reliable source of energy or security. India, however, is in no mood to reduce its dependence on Russian oil and fertilizers. Instead, the two countries are looking to expand economic cooperation, especially in the energy sector. The US is welcome to cement its partnership with India in various sectors, but it is well advised not to dictate terms to the latter with regard to Russia. While setting its sights on an annual trade volume of $30 billion with Russia, India has indicated that it is not oblivious to the global headwinds. New Delhi has stated that it would be supportive of any initiative that stabilizes the world order. Being an old ally, India is justified in nudging Russia to make efforts for ending the Ukraine conflict in view of global concerns over energy and food security. Another challenge is to make Russia more receptive to exports from India so as to reduce the growing trade deficit. The Union government's revised guidelines aimed at making India a teleport hub for other countries include one new section which may start a massive debate. The new section says that TV channels must devote at least 30 minutes every day to content designed to promote public service and national interest. The cabinet has given its approval to guidelines that have made it obligatory for TV channels to telecast such content on 8 themes: education and spread of literacy, agriculture and rural development, health and family welfare, science and technology, welfare of women, welfare of the weaker sections of society, protection of environment and of cultural heritage, and national integration. According to the policy document, airwaves or frequencies are public property and need to be used in the best interest of the society. Though the guidelines came into effect on the 9th of November, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has said that TV channels would be given time to conceptualize and create content on the 8 themes. The guidelines are binding on all channels except foreign ones and those devoted to wildlife and live telecast of sports. According to the ministry, in case any channel is found to be recalcitrant, an explanation will be sought from it. Prima facie, there seems little to fault in the choice of the 8 themes or even the advisory. After all, the idea of promoting national interest is unlikely to cause dissent. However, the real problem lies in the interpretation of the term national interest. For instance, each political party would claim to be working to secure the national interest, but their ideologies and methods would vary greatly. Obviously, the ruling dispensation will be the final arbiter of this loaded term and the contentious debate over it, and this could lead to punitive action against channels. The ministry must display flexibility and let it be just an advisory with no punitive action attached. The Supreme Court has expressed its displeasure over the centre withholding the names recommended by the Supreme Court Collegium for appointment as judges in the higher judiciary. The Supreme Court observed that it had become some sort of a device to force the persons whose names had been recommended to withdraw their consent for judgeship. Notably, 11 cases cleared and reiterated by the Collegium are awaiting appointment. Some of them were cleared more than a year ago. One of them has taken back his assent for the post. As a result, the system has lost the opportunity of having eminent persons on the bench. It is not surprising that very few senior and distinguished members of the bar are ready to swap their flourishing legal practice for judgeship. These observations by the Supreme Court once again underscore the simmering conflict between the judiciary and the executive over the method of appointment, transfer, and elevation of High Court and Supreme Court judges. The Union Law Minister has been vocal about the National Judicial Appointment Commission. However, resorting to delaying tactics is not the way out. The government should deliberate on the issue properly until a resolution acceptable to both parties is reached. It should honor the current system in place. The ban on the wearing of hijab in educational institutes is an explosive matter as the arguments entail a wide spectrum of issues ranging from the highly emotive religious angle to the question of the right to equality and freedom of choice and expression, as also fulfilling the purpose of providing access to education to the Muslim girls. In the long-term interest of the young and minor school girls who will be directly impacted, it is solely the progressive forces that should hold sway in the decision-making. Enforcing the regressive hijab just does not hold water as it effectively excludes the girls from co-curricular activities such as swimming, tennis, and other games that are equally important for their holistic development. At the same time, there is no evidence of the hijab being an essential religious practice in Islam. The insistence of some leaders or sections of the Muslim community to impose the piece of clothing on the girls smacks of a fundamentalist, patriarchal, and oppressive streak. As far as having a choice in the matter goes, it cuts no ice unless the choice is made by an adult woman who has willfully taken an informed decision on donning the hijab and is well aware of her exclusion from certain fields mandating the discipline of a dress code or a uniform. Incidentally, the deadly protests by Iranian women against the hijab should show the mirror to all concerned that this garment has not stood the test of time. Shunning modernity is bound to trigger an outcry sooner or later. For the harmony of the country, political parties must not turn hijab into a communal issue.